evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal the International. I'm called Maureen. This is exactly 6:15 at Top Stories. Cameroonians who exercise violence on police and men have been warned to put an end to such habit or else face the law squarely. The warning from Territorial Administration Minister in Yaoundé today follows recurrent and rampant violence on policemen whom the minister says are out to maintain a peace and order in the country. All activities of the Northwest Lawyers Association has been banned in the Bamenda 2 subdivision. The divisional officer of Bamenda 2 subdivision sees the groups are operating illegally and hold undeclared meetings, warning that anybody who contravenes the order shall be punished in accordance with the provisions of the regulations in force. Those were major stories. Details right ahead. Good evening once more. The Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, has sent out warning signals to Cameroonians who exercise violence on policemen how to maintain peace and order. The phenomenon has become so rampant in Cameroon these days. Minadbo says that it must come to an immediate end or perpetrators shall be dealt with accordingly. He made the declaration today in the press conference, the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, in the presence of the Delegate General for National Security. More in the following story with Heinsen Cha.
Violence and assaults on police officers have become so rampant, especially in major cities of the country like Douala and Yaoundé. Images of civilians beaten up or fighting with peace and security agents while on duty floating the social media on daily basis. An action the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, says must not continue within the state of Cameroon.
No citizen or no person, regardless of their social status, for whatsoever reason, has the right to assault a police officer on duty. That could be considered as jungle justice, which we all know has no place in Cameroon.
The police uniform must be regarded as a state symbol by all Cameroonians without exceptions. All police excesses, the Minad boss insist, must be channeled to the authorities of the police corps through the toll-free number 1500 for appropriate sanctions.
Any disagreement between a police officer and an individual, the complaint should be addressed to the police hierarchy. Only the police hierarchy is empowered to apply sanctions against defaulting officers.
Accompanied in today's press conference by the Delegate General for National Security, Martin Bargangele, Paul Atanganji promises a no-hiding place for individuals who shall from now henceforth lay a finger on any police officer.
If an individual is caught assaulting a police officer, they shall face the heavy arm of the law. There is no point trying to escape after such an irresponsible behavior, for a hungry snake will come looking for you in your hideout.
And talking about the legal provisions, Section 156 of the Cameroon Penal Code subjects persons who use force on public servants to an imprisonment of 1 to 3 years, and where the force of interference results to death, the culprit shall face a life sentence. The regional governors have been firmly instructed to handle such elements of disrespect towards the Cameroonian police in their respective regions.
All All activities of the Northwest Lawyers Association has been banned in Bamenda to a subdivision. The ban is contained in a sub-prefectural order number 70/2021 signed by the Nicholas Congo Manchang, stating that the group is operating illegally. The DO for Bamenda 2 in the decision warns that any group of persons who contravene these orders shall be punished in accordance with provisions of the regulations in force. According to the administrative authorities, the decision is in respect of the Constitution number 90/053 of 19 December 1990 relating to freedom of association. He has therefore charged the brigade commander of Tarikunde Commissioner of the 3rd and 4th District Police to ensure the strict implementation of the decision in their respective sphere of competence. 4 persons are found guilty of having a hand in the Kumba massacre that left several children dead, have been slammed to death sentence by firing squad. Renowned lawyer Felix Agbo-Mbala says while it is the state's prerogative to punish such persons, that penalty seems extreme, and has insisted that those who are supposed to be sentenced or killed by firing squads should be the red culprits, as we hear in the following story. Original Leketandak.
24 October 2020, gunmen stormed the Mother Francesca School in Kumba. The outcome, 7 children brutally murdered in cold blood, 13 others badly injured. The attack drew widespread condemnation, triggering a global call for justice for the innocent school kids. Almost a year on, the military tribunal in Boye on September the 7th passed a landmark judgment sentencing 4 accused persons to death by firing. In a telephone conversation with rights lawyer Felix Agbo-Mbala, he noted that while it is the responsibility of the state to punish for such crimes, the measure seems extreme.
Whilst we acknowledge the fact that the state owes a duty to protect its citizens, the civilian population, while we do acknowledge the fact that equally that those who commit crimes should be brought to justice, we're a bit worried the fact that the death penalty is something which is very extreme. The world is moving towards banning of the death penalty. Cameroon has ratified certain conventions, ICCPR, for example, and even the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the soft law, which all of them goes against the right to life.
Are those accused the real culprits? Some have questions too.
We hope that those who were brought to justice were the perpetrators of the incident, because I've spoken to a couple of persons and they're wondering whether they were the ones who were actually responsible.
There were 12 accused persons standing trial, amongst which 5 were already in custody. The 4 accused persons to face death penalty include Yemili Gilda, Conte Patrick, Angu Emmanuel, and Elangwe Kelvin. In a statement by the rights group Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa, the NGO noted that following the declaration of capital punishment, there are 3 possibilities. Notably, those sentenced can appeal to a court of higher jurisdiction. The actual implementation of the sentence could be done, or a presidential pardon. Whatever be the outcome, the NGO noted, the state has the responsibility to ensure that all the rights guaranteeing the protection of those sentenced are respected.
Cameroonians have been called upon to take the literacy program very seriously. As statistics show that 28% of Cameroonians can neither read nor write. Appeal made by the Secretary of State in the Ministry of Basic Education and World Literacy on the occasion of World Literacy Day observed today in Yaoundé, which is a prolongation. The details in the following story.
The number of persons who do not know how to read and write here in Cameroon is estimated at 28%. This part of the many millions in the world today.
There are 773 million young people and adults who are still illiterate in the world. And 3/4 of these numbers are women. That is very heartbreaking.
And to come out of this, Education officials are calling on Cameroonians to take the literacy programs seriously, especially in this time of COVID-19, when people are restricted to sit together and in close environments.
Therefore, the best way is to be able to do your literacy programs digitally.
The facilities are available, with over 731 literacy centers functioning in the country. As for the enclave zones and energy problems raised by the civil society actors, solar energy, the authority says, is available.
And we have our partners too who are helping us to provide solar energy in these remote places that have electricity problems.
Adults and young people are being offered what is needed to take them off illiteracy. Commemorated every September the 8th, this year's 55th World Literacy Day is under the theme Literacy for People-Centered Recovery, Bridging the Digital Divide.
Yabasi and vocational agricultural school is in dire need of electricity and water supply. The administrative authority in Cam has promised to resolve the problem to facilitate the students' activities. As we hear the following story with Gladys Ambotiba.
This school has been without water and electricity since last year. It is the Technical and Vocational Agricultural High School in Yabasi in the Cam Division, Littoral region of Cameroon. Electricity poles that supply the institution have all fallen, just like water supply pipes that have been reportedly destroyed by the construction company in charge of the Bonepopa Yabasi road construction. This is my 6th year as a boarding student in this institution. Lack of water and electricity is a recurrent problem. We have not had a drop of water since the last academic year. We are calling on the powers that be to resolve the problem. During his tour to secondary school at the start of the 2021-2022 academic year, the senior divisional officer of CAM was preoccupied with lack of these basic facilities in the technical school and urged those in charge to take urgent measures to resolve the problem. We are particularly worried by the lack of these basic amenities because it is a boarding institution too. The construction company working on the Bonepopa Yabasi route destroyed the electricity poles and the water supply pipes. We have contacted those in charge and we are hoping that they will work on that. In spite of being the first technical vocational agricultural high school in Cameroon, it still lacks transport buses for day students and the staff and an infirmary for first aid for students.
Higher Education Minister Professor Jacques Famdongo has called on those who own houses around university residential areas to respect the regulations in place as far as student accommodation is concerned. At a multi-sectoral meeting in Yaoundé, 12-point recommendations were agreed to resolve a room scarcity and accessibility problem. As we hear the following story with Beatrice Angamu.
Some 12 recommendations have been arrived at the end of the multi-dimensional meeting for lasting solutions to university students' lodging problems. This to put an end to the scarcity and growing inaccessibility of lodging within the university residential zones. As the number of students are increasing greatly, the buildings are dilapidating, the number of non-university students' population on the rise, and this reduces the chances of these students to find lodging facilities. The consequence? High rents, imposition of 1-year rent and more. The recommendations are that the respect of the regulation in place on students' lodging is effective this academic year, come October 5th. That local branches should go to the fields to conduct census, parameterizing and publishing the classification of lodgings. That non-students should systematically leave accommodations to students. That there is need to re-establish the fact that students pay rent monthly or in installments, and that the creation of an association or collective of landlords in each of the university residential zone among many. The meeting that was chaired by Higher Education Minister Jacques Famdongo with representatives from concerned ministries, from the 8 state universities and higher institutions of learning, administrative authorities, also clear-cut responsibilities, so that the about 500,000 students in the state universities and others in higher institutions learn under a more conducive and peaceful climate.
And the Bona Musadi neighborhood in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, known as Abonas, is one of the most popular student residential area in that part of the country. How is the problem of accommodation, scarcity and accessibility like basic social facilities and social security issues handled? Beatrice Ngamo completes that story.
The number of business centers as one enters Bonas gives the impression of a good student residential zone. A blend, though, moving inside the streets are inaccessible. Going further, posts of rooms to let all over. But the obstacle is the exorbitant prices and at times demands for 1 year rent.
The student then before some association where landlord no get to ask plenty, where the money be between 7,000 and to 10,000. But now, so the way I see, some room them the way they pay 25,000.
Accusing fingers are thrown here and there on students like landlord. The room is for a student, but there are 4 to 5. Light is consumed and they refuse to pay. Water is saved. You talk, they say you should lodge students. It is normal to lodge students, but there are also prior principles. The rooms are according to categories, well, averagely and less arranged. There are rooms for 25, 25 and 10,000 depending on the state of the room. Water and electricity before were services enjoyed almost free here. Not the case today, though there are wells now.
Light no day, water no day. I say student then the sofa.
At Bonas, common challenges today include
the insecurity.
Insecurity, theft, very common here. This alongside problems of water and electricity. The environment, surroundings, very wanting. Stinky, filthy water all over. Heaps of garbages and others commonplace. Bonas is not only for students, as those who have left university some 25 years back or more are still living there. Their lifestyle sure affects the students, no doubt. This university student residential zone needs attention.
And that report that Beatrice Ngamo brings us to the end of this edition of News on Canal the International. Thanks so much for watching. Coming up next is the brief with Buba and Gomna in Yaoundé. And we have news in the French language coming up at exactly 7:50 this Navasenkan with Alain Gislain Akanga. As for me, I'll be back with you on Monday. Stay in the company of our programs. Good night.
Canal International.